ओम अज्ञानतिमिरन्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मीलितं तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। श्रीचैतन्यमनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूपं कदा मह्यं ददाति स्वपदान्तिकं। श्रीकृष्णचैतन्य प्रभुनित्यानन्द श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौरभक्तवृन्द। हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्णा हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे. Hare Krishna devotees, my name is Rama Paramayadasa. I have got confused after hearing about the topic of female Diksha Gurus. There are very senior devotees involved in this whole discussion on both sides. Devotees who are direct disciples of Prabhupada, who are initiating spiritual masters. So, even among such senior devotees, there is a difference of opinion on what's right. That is, are Matajis eligible to take the post of initiating spiritual masters? So, myself, I am quite new to Krishna consciousness movement compared to such senior devotees. And being a junior devotee in ISKCON, it confuses me as to what is right and what is wrong. Hence, I would like to humbly present my understanding for correction. I did hear about the presentation by Shivram Swami Maharaj in detail. That was followed by presentations given by Hridayānanda Das Goswami Maharaj and Prāṇadā Mātāji. And one thing is that Hridayānanda Maharaj very well presented that the whole mission is based on the spiritual identity, the identity of the soul, and not the material identity. And the second thing is that circumstances have to be adjusted based on time, place. The principles have to be adjusted based on time, place, and circumstances. This is what I could understand. Similarly, Prāṇadā Mātāji presented a historical perspective of how the FDG debate is happening. She also mentioned the GBC mandate and where it took. What confuses me in this situation is that how much of shāstrās have supported this and how much support is coming from Prabhupada's quotes in this whole thing on both sides of the matter. So, I would like to humbly present myself that being confused, if my seniors can guide me as to what is the right thing, what is the right way to understand, I would like to humbly present my little understanding on the concepts of Pramāṇa shāstra as to how I can know the truth. So, we all know that there are three types of pramanas that are accepted in Vaishnava society. One is Pratyaksha Pramāṇa, one is Anumana Pramāṇa, and one is Shabda Pramāṇa. Now, these are for those who are newcomers in Krishna consciousness movement. I understand that. After spending so many years in Krishna consciousness movement, at least we are quite clear that we accept Shabda Pramāṇa. But then what is the point in going through this? I thought of going through this so that I will clarify the issue for myself and how people like me who are neither completely convinced on this side nor completely convinced on that side but still confused, it will be easy to accept the matter. So, we all know the science of Pramāṇa that Pratyaksha, Anumana and Shabda are the three types of Pramanas. Pratyaksha is what we perceive, what the senses perceive. So, definitely what the senses perceive is accepted as truth. Seeing is believing on a particular level, at least on the matters that are worldly. However, it is well-known fact, and Jiva Goswami has established it quite clearly in his Tattva Sandarbha, that Pratyaksha Pramāṇa doesn't work for Atindriya, it doesn't work for those things which are beyond our senses. Now, there is also Anumana Pramāṇa, which is logic and deduction. This Anumana Pramāṇa means suppose some things are not perceptible to senses but still can be understood by logic. Let's say there is smoke on the mountain. I have seen smoke in my kitchen and I have seen fire also along with it. So it's easy to create a vyapti, it's easy to create a deduction that yes, seeing the smoke on the mountain, there can be fire. So I have to be careful. So Anumana also has its value, logic and deduction. But then again, for things like Atma, Paramatma, Vaikuntha, all these things, Anumana is also not a uh, valid or an acceptable pramana, and that is where the Shabda Pramana comes. So, Shabda Pramana we all use in our lives. Let's say somebody tells us that there are very tasty fruits in the next shop. We tend to believe it because we tend to believe it based on the faith that we have on the person. So definitely we all have experienced Shabda Pramana in our lives. And why Shabda is more perfect? Because we all know that humans have four defects: Brahma, Pramāda, Vipralipsa and Karnapata. That is, we all have a tendency to make mistakes, as Maharaj very rightly pointed out in one of his classes. We all have a tendency to make mistakes. Then we have a tendency to be illusioned. Then we have a tendency to cheat others, and we also have imperfect senses. So, with these imperfections in us, no Purusha can actually present the truth by himself, either through Pratyaksha or Anumana. Even the Shabda of the Purusha independently is not reliable because of these things. Hence, there is a need of Apaurusheya Shabdas, the Vedas. And because the Vedas are Apaurusheya, they are an absolute Pramana. So we all understand from the Vedic epistemology that Vedas are independent Pramanas. They don't need any secondary evidence to prove themselves. However, the other Paurusha Pramanas like Puranas, Itihasas, they all have to be supported by the Vedas. Even the Acharya Vakyas are supported by Vedas. And this we can very beautifully see in the writings of previous Acharyas like Jiva Goswami, Baldev Vidyabhushana, even our own Srila Prabhupada. We can see this very clearly that whatever they presented it based on Shastra Pramana. Either we see in Bhaktivedanta purports, either we see a quote from Kathopanishad or Mundakopanishad or Brahma Sutra or Padma Purana or Bhagavata Purana. Somewhere or the other, it is the Pramanas that take precedence in the teachings of our own Srila Prabhupada. Now, why I am giving all this background to my seniors who know all these things? I am just trying to present my understanding so that it will be easy to discuss further. I don't intend to instruct anything to my seniors who are disciples of Srila Prabhupada. Some of them who are taking stand on this matter are much senior to my own spiritual master. I have to regard them as my spiritual master, and in the Krishna consciousness movement, they have joined before my spiritual master also. So that's why they are very senior to me and they are very capable of guiding me in this matter. So with this intention, I would like to present my present understanding so that it will be easy. What I understood in the FDG matter is that we are using Pratyaksha and Anumana more than Shabda. How is that so? One thing is that the Anumana Pramana has three important things. One is Hetu, Sadhya and Vyapti, or reason, goal and rule. So let's say there is smoke on the mountain. So that is the first thing. The smoke is there on the mountain. Now where have we seen the smoke? We have seen the smoke in the kitchen also. So the rule is that wherever there is smoke, there is fire. So seeing the smoke on the mountain, it is easy to deduce that, okay, there is fire there. So like that, now are we using Anumana Pramana to establish the female Diksha Guru thing? That is my question. For example, women are successfully preaching and inspiring disciples in the West. That is observable. That is seen through Pratyaksha. Now, what is the goal? The goal, we all agree, it is for pro-FDG, for anti-FDG, for people like us who are in the middle. For all of us, the goal is to increase the preaching in the Krishna consciousness. Now, Women are successfully preaching. The goal is to increase the preaching in Krishna consciousness movement. Are we using Anumana to say that, okay, so let women become Diksha Gurus, that way the preaching will increase? So, if Anumana is the Pramāṇa, then it can be cancelled someday by Shabda. So, what do we have sufficient Shabda Pramanas to establish that female Diksha Gurus are allowable in Krishna consciousness movement? Okay, there are, as Hridayānanda Maharaj mentioned, that there are many quotes in this regard. I was able to get some quotes. For example, in a lecture on Chaitanya Charitamrita Madhya Leela 8.128 in Mayapur in 1947, 1974, Srila Prabhupada says, suppose you have become now very much devoted to Lord Krishna and you are preaching. So if you can become Guru, I have no objection. Anyone who follows the instructions of Lord Chaitanya as a Guru, it doesn't matter what he is. He may be a Grihastha, he may be a Sannyasi, he may be a Brahmana, he may be a Shudra, or he may be a woman. Yes. So, similarly, in a letter to Hamsaduta on June 18, 1969, Prabhupada says, I want that all my spiritual daughters inherit this title of Bhakti Vedanta, for then I shall be very glad. Actually, a woman can also be a spiritual master, but she must be very much qualified. Now, this famous room conversation in Toronto, June 18, 1975, Professor O'Connell says, is it possible for a woman to be a head of a group, a spiritual master? Prabhupada, yes, Lord Chaitanya says, whoever knows the science of Krishna, he becomes spiritual master. It doesn't matter if one is a woman or a Shudra or a Brahmana. If she is qualified, she can become a spiritual master. Professor O'Connell. And this would mean giving initiation? Prabhupada, yes. So, yes, there are definitely a few quotes in support of the stand that women can become spiritual master. So at least one thing I could understand is that it is not some strange idea, it is not some impossible idea. It is not like horns of a hare, as it's called in the Nyaya language, Shasharishana. Hare doesn't have horns, so the Nayayikas frequently use this for impossible things, horns of a hare. So at least it is not that. Now, the one thing that I also observe that there are enough number of quotes by Srila Prabhupada that emphasize about women's roles. A woman is supposed to always be subordinate. At no stage of her life should a woman be independent. This is a Vedic rule. She should be under the protection of her father in her childhood, under the protection of her husband in her youth, and under the protection of her elderly sons in her old age. Srimad Bhagavatam 4.18.3 purport. Similarly, the equal rights is the cause of all these troubles. In the name of equal rights, you have been misled. According to Vedic civilization, women and men are not equal. Room Conversation 1975, July. Similarly, there are many number of quotes, in fact much more than this, which say that women have to have submissive roles and they should play the role of a mother, they should play the role of a grandmother, they should take care of children. Prabhupada even says that our girls are not enthusiastic to go to Japan or to America. They are enthusiastic for their female roles. That was what Prabhupada said. Now, that is where now there are thousands of instances, or if you say hundreds of instances, where women roles, their submissive roles and their traditional roles in Varnashrama are so much emphasized. And there are some 3 to 5 quotes which emphasize that they can become spiritual master. And also Prabhupada has said that not too many, only few. So how are we going to understand these things? That is the question. Not too many and all these things. How are we going to understand? So that is where all the confusions are lying. So this is the thing that we would like to clear. We would like clarification from. For example, in Pramāṇa Shastra, as we discussed, Shabda or Shruti is superior to Pratyaksha and Anumana. That is well understood. So can we rely on an Anumana that preaching can increase if women become Diksha Gurus because women are preachers today. So, can we rely on Anumana in the absence of enough Shabda Pramanas? Okay, there are a few Shabda Pramanas by Srila Prabhupada in support of this, but there are hundreds of those which advocate Varnashrama rules, which advocate simple living, which advocate traditional roles for men, women, children, everyone. So, when it comes to traditional roles, women have to raise children, they have to take care of household, they have to become grandmothers. So, that also Prabhupada very much wanted to establish. What I could understand from this is that even if we want to think of a female Diksha Guru case, that will be well suited after establishing the female roles that Prabhupada emphasized. So, the thing that he has emphasized the most, let that rule come up first. And once that is coming up, then these special cases will automatically be handled or managed. Whereas if we rely on inference, if we rely on Anumana that okay, preachers they are doing good job, but by Diksha Gurus they will do a better job, then I think we are somewhere missing on the epistemology. We might not be relying on Pratyaksha and we might not be relying on Shabda Pramana, we might be relying more on Pratyaksha and Anumana. Even in Shabda there are gradations. That's what Jiva Goswami mentions. The Shruti is supposed to be highest. So when a Shruti is quoted, then the opponent cannot say that I have a different Shastra or I have a different Shruti. He has to accept the Shruti. This is the law. So when a Shruti Pramana is quoted or something is quoted from the Vedas, you have a chance to interpret it using Sanskrit, using the roots of Nyaya, but not dismiss it. Whereas Smriti can be dismissed by Shruti. And if one Smriti is there, then other Smriti is there, then we have to give a Nirnaya, we have to give a Sanskrit explanation of it. Acharya Vakyas should always be supported by Shruti and Smriti. And that is very clear in the teachings of Prabhupada in his Bhaktivedanta purports that all his Vakyas he has always supported with Shruti and Smriti. So, considering all these things, the epistemology itself follows a hierarchy. So, the epistemology itself follows a hierarchy that there are higher pramanas and there are lower pramanas. And with all these things, now there is also a pramana of my seniors here, the great disciples of Prabhupada, and some of whom are much more senior than my own spiritual master. So that way they are to be, I should revere them as my own spiritual master. I should revere them as much more than my spiritual master because they are senior to him also in Krishna consciousness. So no doubt about that. One thing is that after spending so many years in Krishna consciousness movement, at least I am confident that they have much more pramanas, they have much more backing up of Shruti and Smriti and Puranas to establish the FDG stand. I may not have so many, but then they would definitely have because of their vast service to Prabhupada's movement and vast study of Shastra. So, to convince people like me, it will become more easy. I mean, my doubts will be answered in this way. Maharaj and Mataji and other devotees, if you can kindly help by presenting the right pramanas from Shastras and also Acharya Vakyas which are in line with the Shastras. And at the same time, when this my contention that there are more the establishment of female roles, submissive roles for female takes a higher precedence, and then once that is established, this thing can come up is one thing that also seems apt because of the number of quotes of Srila Prabhupada itself to establish that first, and then a 2-3 quotes to have female Diksha Gurus. So, considering this confusion, I humbly request my dear seniors to please guide me as to what is the right way, what is the right way to understand this, and if I can get the suitable pramanas to really to get convinced that yes, female Diksha Gurus are needed, and Shastras and Shrutis do indicate that, and there are Shrutis more prominent more prominent than the ones which tell about submissive roles. So, if such things are really there, then it will be easy for a lot of devotees to accept this. Please help me regarding the same. Vancha kalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhubhyev cha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Ananta Koti Vaishnav Vrinda ki jai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.